for Speak Up, a social commentary talk show that addresses the state of affairs on NEVIS. Expect great conversations, different perspectives, and an all-inclusive approach to moving NEVIS forward. Tune in. It's time for us to speak up.
Good evening. It's time for another episode of Speak Up. As the ad says, it's time for us to speak up, and I am Jaedee Caines, and in the studio with me is Rohan, and we are here every Thursday night for Speak Up, a social commentary talk show where we aim to speak about issues of national interest, anything that we think is important, anything that we think is newsworthy, anything that we think is worthy of conversation. That is what we will address, or we seek to address here on Speak Up every Thursday evening. I'll go over and say good evening to you, Rohan. Good evening.
Good evening, Jaedee, and good evening to our listeners. They are listening via the radio or via online. Good evening to you. Let me say pleasant good evening to the constituents of NEVIS 3. Pleasant good evening to my family as well. Thank you for your continued support. Let me also extend congratulations to those who are celebrating or would have celebrated birthdays, anniversaries, special occasions during this week. Condolences as well to those who are mourning. I understand, Jaedee, that we had a death in Bath recently.
Yes.
So to the family there, I extend condolences to you and to anyone else who is having a difficult time at the moment. Our prayers and our thoughts are with you as well. Just make a special mention of congratulations to Exposition St. George's, an event that was held on Monday of this week. Was fairly well attended. I took the opportunity to visit and got a little bit of what was there for sale. We had pastries and some farmers there as well. So congratulations to the organizers, and hopefully the event can continue to grow from strength to strength.
And you mentioned Exposition St. George's. I'm suspecting that has to do with the weekend of activities that we had recently here on the island of NEVIS for Culturama.
Yeah.
The virtual Culturama. I was able to tune in to quite a number of events. Someone told me today, but Jaedee did the live commentary belonged to you.
Yes.
But it was
Adele.
Myself and Adele. Yes, it was nice. Obviously there's always room for improvement, but generally I thought it was wonderfully done. I want to commend all of the participants. I want to commend those who were successful in terms of being top placers. It's good when we can contribute to the Island Summer Festival. I know sometimes people get the notion, or people are of the view, that Culturama is just for young people. That's not so. And then some young people think that Culturama is just for old people. So clearly that's not so either. And then there are some persons who think that you have to behave a particular way to participate or even enjoy Culturama, and that too is not so. This weekend would have demonstrated, for those who probably may not have gone to the complex ever before, you were able to tune in online, and so I'm sure you would have gotten a better appreciation for Culturama and what it entails. For me, I believe that, like most young people, that culture is evolving. However, I also believe that because our festival is different, in that it's Culturama and not Carnival, it's important that we maintain certain aspects of it. So I just want to congratulate everyone who had any part to play in this weekend's events, particularly the winners. We know that in the Soca Monarch competition, we had Easy.
Yeah.
Oh my, Easy returned with a vengeance. So we want to commend Kenny Easy Warner, who would have captured the Power Soca Monarch title, the Power Soca Monarch. We also had Soca Empress, who would have captured the Groovy segment, or the Groovy Monarch title. And so we want to say kudos to them, as well as to those who were first and second runners up. And then in the Senior Kaiso competition, history was made when the man Andrew Nisbet, also known as King Hollywood, was able to successfully defend his crown rather, and he is now our senior Kaiso monarch, and it's according to him, it's his final year in that capacity, as he wants to pave way for his son, young Akido, who has now qualified.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to. It was a good show. It was an excellent performance by Hollywood. He really, was in tune with his song.
Yes.
I saw him. He said to me, I had my eyes on the king, this and that, but I paid much more attention to the criteria.
Yes.
So he sang 2 very good songs, and he believed that at the end of it he would have been victorious. So it's good to go out in a historical note, knowing that you're the first and presently the only Calypsonian to would have won back-to-back titles. I mean, we could have a long conversation about others who should have done that in the past, but we'll leave that for another time.
Yes. So, Rohan, a lot is happening. Some not so good, some fairly well. Let's turn our attention to what is most prevalent here on the island of Nevis, and that is the COVID-19 situation. We know that students are back out to school, teachers are back out to school, and we saw this week quite a few instances where there were notices issued via the Ministry of Education, or from the Ministry of Education, indicating that certain classes would have to suspend their physical instruction and revert to online teaching, and obviously as a result of COVID-19 pandemic. What are your thoughts, Rohan?
Look at it in 2 ways. And maybe 3. It is good that the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Education have developed that intimate working relationship with regards to doing what they feel is necessary to keep the nation's children safe. It is unfortunate, though, that of recent time we have understood that parents have been knowingly sending their children to school when they are ill, and that is not good. This isn't something new. Even before the COVID-19 virus, we, as teachers, used to implore parents, even with the common cold, and especially during the flu season, which is different to the common cold, that you keep them at home, because the virus spreads very quickly among children. It's one thing to tell adults to social distance and so on. And you see the challenges that we've had dealing with adults.
Yes.
You could imagine children who are ever so friendly and loving and want to be in close contact with their friends and their classmates. So, I just want to take the opportunity to ask parents to be mindful. Mindful of other people's children. You don't know what their medical history is like.
Correct.
And if you know your child or children has been exposed or have been exposed to the virus, it is only right, it is only honest, it is only fair to the rest of the nation that you find the necessary treatment for your child, and you keep your child at home. And we, of course, we pray that our children remain safe, whether they are in the school environment or they are home. Jaedee, one of the things that I found, I've paid quite a bit of attention to my daughter's online learning. It is challenging, and at times it can be frustrating. It is completely different to the classroom, and I don't know if children are making that adjustment of going to school and then coming home to the online classes.
Okay.
You find that in online classes there isn't the opportunity to sit and write notes, because the class, I guess it's because it's virtual, the class just runs, and after a while the notes are posted, and then you go and you have your child write them out. And for me it is almost as if the day goes by rather dull and dreary when they have online classes. It's a different atmosphere for them. I guess it is one that they will get accustomed to. Yes. I have no problems with us trying to make that transition to that platform. It is necessary in an atmosphere where we never know when we will face another virus like this, and so It is good that you're doing that. I just hope that somebody's paying attention to the challenges that the children are facing, the teachers are facing, and the parents are facing. Because, Jaedee, I find that parents are having to make a very difficult decision. In a case where, let us take single parent homes, for example. Parents having to decide what to do, whether they go to work or they stay at home. Because if you're a single parent and you have nobody to watch your child when your child is home from school, then what? And I mean, as parent, the unfortunate situation is the government has not found it important enough to provide liquidity to families in this pandemic. So they have to go to work in order to put food on the table and pay the bills.
Correct.
So it's for me, it's having to make that difficult decision in a balance of how do you afford your child the opportunity to keep up with his or her education and still attend to your job, because you need to sustain your home.
And that's one of the reasons that I have said that I think that we could have, and there is still time for certain things, gone about the whole rollout a little bit better in terms of our approach to COVID-19. I say that because some of the key stakeholders, in my opinion, are excluded. For example, no parent should, in my mind, have to choose between leaving their child at home. Look at me, for example, with a child who cannot stay at home by herself. I mean, just on the basis of her age, cannot stay at home by herself. I should not have to choose between doing that and going to work, right? I'm just using myself as an example. And so I think that the discussions needed to include certain aspects of the community. For example, the business sector ought to have been included to a greater extent, because the employers need to understand, or should be told, that you can't discriminate against a parent, whether mother or father, who is in this situation. And I'm not talking about discrimination. Does not just come in terms of terminating their services. I'm talking about, you could still have them on, but then you may decide, I'm going to cut their salaries and that sort of thing. I mean, in a situation where some persons are already living paycheck to paycheck, I mean, how feasible is that? One of the things, I don't expect it to be perfect, but I do think we can do certain things and learn from our mistakes. I don't know how well we are doing that, because we've been in this situation for about a year now, and in my opinion, not much has changed. I do commend the persons who are working in the field. However, we have to be mindful that when we speak up and speak out about certain things, it's not necessarily an attack on you. Because, for example, in the education sector, and even all sectors really, the policy direction must come from the top. And so I don't expect a teacher to feel like our difference of opinion is on them, because the policy direction has to come from the top. You basically are doing what you're told to do, right? I'm thinking, though, that one of the things we can try is to have a hybrid approach. And when I say hybrid, I'm not talking about where we have it right now, which I don't so mind it, but I'm just trying something else where some persons can be physically in the classroom and some persons can be online every now and then. And I'll tell you why I say that. The teacher can then teach as if you're teaching in the classroom. So you can go to the board just the same, write just the same. That will deal with the whole online class not seeming so boring. You write just the same. I know it works in certain places, because a friend of mine is a teacher, and that's what she does. She says that they understand that not everybody has access to the digital devices, and so they have the option of coming to school and still be physically distant if they don't have access to a device. However, persons who want to keep their children at home, and that is what is encouraged, they can log on, but the teacher still teaches as if she is in the class, so it's she or he is in the class, it's very interactive. So there are different things that we can do.
Yeah.
I just thought I'd put it out there as one of the things that we may want to try. But I want to continue to encourage our teachers to keep the faith. Our parents, trust me, who feels it knows it. When Rohan and I speak, Rohan and I are not speaking from a position of what we hear people say, but we are speaking from a position of being in the situation. You know, who feels it knows it. When we talk about there not being any stimulus for families, we know what we are saying, because who's in the kitchen feels the heat. That's you know, when we talk about the challenges of online learning, we know what we are saying, because who is in the kitchen feels the heat. You know, when we talk about victimization, we know what we are saying, because who's in the kitchen feels the heat. And so we want to understand that we are right there with you. We understand we want you to understand that we understand what you're going through, because your struggle is our struggle. And so we just want you to know that we are all in this together. If we can segue, Rohan, from the COVID-19 situation, even though I think everything still has some balance, yes, so COVID-19. Last week we ended on a topic, because we were focusing on National Heroes Day and how the leaders, the persons who have been identified as national heroes for St. Kitts and Nevis, would have gotten those awards, and the work that they had been doing to get to where they are, or well, the status of national hero. And we actually zoomed in on the Right Excellent Dr. Simeone Daniel in terms of his work. And because of time, you know, the conversation ended prematurely, but there was so much more that could be said. And I remember something you were saying in terms of your breakdown and your analysis of situations in the past, pandemics, for want of a better term, or crises rather, in the past, and how we were able to maneuver through those. I mean, what say you?
You know, before I get to that, we of course, as you said, we were talking about the Right Excellent. You know, Jaedee, when you look at development, it stems from a platform. And it was Dr. Simeone Daniel who set the platform for the development in NEVIS. What is unfortunate, though, is that it has not gone very far from where he would have set it in terms of moving NEVIS into a new era, moving NEVIS into a new development stage. You look at our sister island, St. Kitts, and you see remarkable development in hotel infrastructure. Hotels left, right and center, and just 2 miles away, NEVIS is still just enjoying the fruits of one major hotel, the Four Seasons Resort.
Correct.
What is poignant for me is that at every turn in division history, when there was some level of difficulty, some crisis, or some challenge to the division people, it was NRP who would have led NEVIS out of those challenges. Go back to the Christina disaster.
Okay.
Out of the Christina disaster, it was the focused mindset of then Premier Dr. Simeone Daniel that brought us out of that tragedy. It was after that the NRP Premier set about charting a new course for NEVIS.
Correct.
I'm sure you remember people saying that, you know, no longer should divisions have to travel to St. Kitts for he made that possible.
Yes, yes.
And we spoke a lot about what he would have done, and all of these things were fundamental to his desire to enact Clause 113, because he understood that in order for NEVIS to stand proudly on its own, certain things had to be in place.
Correct.
So that's one. Let us fast forward to 2008. Hurricane Omar closed down Four Seasons Resort for approximately 2 years. We know what contributions Four Seasons make to the economy of NEVIS, and how many people are employed, and how many people survive economically, whether directly or indirectly, as a result of Four Seasons. When Four Seasons closed, it was J.W. Parry who was at the helm.
NRP again.
NRP again. It was J.W. who negotiated, and you know, our present leader loves to talk about, well, when I say our present leader, I mean NRP, Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge, who would often talk about the power of negotiating. And having recognized that, she would say, our current leader of the island doesn't have much negotiating power or skill. JW would have gone to Four Seasons and ensured that as many persons as possible stayed on during the cleanup phase and the renovation.
And Rohan, if I can jump in here, it was not just about making sure that people stay on at Four Seasons, even though he did that. He also went the extra mile, and in cases where Four Seasons really could not take anyone else,
he did.
He was he did. He was able. He was prepared to make some sacrifices to ensure that the people of Nevis could put food on the table.
One of the things he would have said to me in the past is, you've got to understand the economy. And in as much as you said that was the case, he understood too that if people were working, then the economy stood a chance of being of turning over, and not becoming too stagnant and too dull and having a greater negative impact. It was so. I remember very well my mother, who was a steward at the time. She stayed on to rake bush and sand, as she would say when she come home. All she did today was rake sand. But that, it was the action of J.W. Parry that allowed Nevis to stay afloat in those first instances. Then what did he do? Before President Barack Obama spoke of stimulus, economic stimulus, it was J.W. Parry who spoke about putting a stimulus package in place so that Nevis could rebound quickly. And so I think at some other show we talk about what J.W. Parry would have done in terms of the housing boom.
Yes.
And the community centers. And all of these things were by design. They were fit for purpose in the times that we were facing.
Yes.
Let's come a little bit forward. We are almost 2 years into the COVID-19 pandemic. And, it seems as if we are going to be here in 2022 as well. As you know, the world projections continue to come in, and they are saying 2023 and 2024 the world begins to see some recovery. And Jaedee, I guess as we go along we can talk more about that as well, because economists are saying that larger countries are going to rebound well, but small emerging markets and small developing states like those in the region are going to struggle. Their economic prospects are not going to be as bountiful as the US and Australia and England. US is projected to grow by 7%. Never before in American history the economy has grown by that number.
Well, Nevis isn't growing outside of COVID, so
well, it's growing in COVID. That is what it is growing in, and so that is the difficulty we are going to have. We have a COVID-19 crisis, and at the rate we are going to have a COVID-20 crisis, and the COVID-20 crisis is going to be the leadership that we presently have. And that is going to be 10 times worse. And so people need to understand, if we are to get out of this, I have shown you the two crises that we would have faced in the past. It was Simeone Daniel NRP.
Yes.
It was JW NRP.
Yes.
And it has to be Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge NRP to get us out of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yes.
It has to be an NRP government.
From your lips to God's ears.
It has always been an NRP government who has been fit for purpose in these situations.
Amen.
And I've said to people in the past, I get the feeling that when things are bad, divisions love to turn NRP.
Yes.
And when NRP would have set the ship a sail right and in good stead and in perfect direction, for some reason we go back to CCM.
Yeah.
I want to encourage the listeners and tell a friend to tell a friend that we just don't want to rescue Nevis. We want to also set Nevis on a path of economic prosperity that is sustainable.
Yes.
Not just sustainable for now.
Yes.
But sustainable when young Jaedee and young Isles are of age.
Yes.
That we know employment is available. That a piece of the rock is available. And that we are not in a position where we looking at empty cupboards and empty fridges and looking into eyes filled with despair and lack of vision and no hope. NRP is primed, ready and set to take Nevis to places we haven't seen in a long time.
Yes.
And that is to put us on a path to sustained economic prosperity that is going to last for generations. And I know it is possible.
Yes.
I know it is possible with our leader, Dr. Jaedee Daniel Hodge, and as I have recently called him, the Power Four. I am the thorn among the roses. I believe our humanity is what is important, and that is what drives us. There is a desire to listen to our people.
Yes.
There is a desire to hear what they are not saying, and there is a desire to fix the roots of our problem so that our people can live meaningful lives.
And all of our people. All of our people.
Not just some.
Correct.
Whether you wear a blue shirt, green shirt, orange shirt, white shirt, yellow shirt,
and no shirt.
And no shirt at all. Fundamentally, the fruits of the labor must be had by all.
Yes.
Because if half of us, and this is not me saying it, I like to tell people when I say things, it's because I've learned it, or training tells me so. Good governance tells you if half of you are benefiting, then none of you
correct
are benefiting, because an equal amount of people are not benefiting. And if you know how the thing works, it cancels out each other.
Yes.
So
yes.
you're really at zero. And so again, it has been NRP, and I'm confident it will be NRP that is going to lead us out of this COVID-19 crisis and to see us beyond these kind of viruses, to ensure that we are prepared, really prepared.
Yes.
Not halfway through the pandemic saying NEVIS prepared, and three quarter way through the pandemic we're still looking for the preparations. That doesn't make sense.
Correct.
And so, just as we did in the 70s, just as we did in early 2000s, we're ready to do it again here in 2022 when the elections are called.
And I'm all in. Monday elections could be called tomorrow. I'm all in. Rohan, are you in?
All in.
Rohan, are you in?
All in.
All in over here.
All in.
Number one in number one.
Yep.
We're all in.
All in.
Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, I could not have said it any better. St. George's, you have a man of purpose. I mean, just listening to Rohan Isles speak, I mean, you have the creme de la creme. Where else can you get that? You have the creme de la creme. And what he is saying is so profound, so true, that it's going to take a party with vision, a party that loves people, a party of purpose, a party with experience, a party that is known as the NEVIS Reformation Party, to take NEVIS out of this COVID-19 crisis and on a path to recovery and development.
Yep.
And so, with those few words, we are going to tell you that, of course, we'll be back next week. God spare our lives. And we will have a lot more that we want to discuss, because obviously this COVID-19 situation is not going anywhere anytime soon, as my colleague would have indicated. We want to talk about healthcare. We want to talk about the bricks that are at the Alexandra Hospital. That's nothing is happening with them. We want to talk about so much more, and it is only here on Speak Up that you will get that level of conversation. So I am Jaedee Caines, and before I sign off, I just want to say thank you to all of you who would have tuned in this week and for the previous weeks. Thank you to everyone who continued to support us, give us your constructive criticism, and even give us topics that we can discuss here and Speak Up. Rohan, any final words?
Yes, I just, as you would have said, I want to thank the listeners and the viewers. I want to encourage Nevisians and Kittians and those of us in the Leeward Islands to pay attention to Tropical Storm Sam. Of course, we may not be back, well, projections tell us we'll be back after it hits, but pay attention to it. Please don't wait until local med services tell you that it is close to you. Prepare yourselves for any eventuality. Stay safe.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been Speak Up. Good night.
Join Jaedee Caines and Rohan Isles this and every Thursday on the Caribbean's powerhouse, Von Radio, for Speak Up, a social commentary talk show that addresses the state of affairs on NEVIS. Expect great conversations, different perspectives, and an all-inclusive approach to moving NEVIS forward. Tune in. It's time for us to speak up.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the NEVIS Broadcasting Company Limited or